the concert house, the opera. I think I did walk past it then.
Okay. I think
the room is really full, Inez.
yes, I know.
We can see
Yes.
that.
Yes, I know. Okay, we can start, I think. So let's go. Thank you very much for joining us. This is the IETF role meeting. Okay, people, participants, make sure that you're using Mixeco and that your audio video is off unless you're presenting. So we are going to delegate the handling of the slides to you when you need to present. Make sure of the resources, they are outlined. Okay. Dominic,
Yep, I do this part. So this is an IETF meeting, and as such, you need to be aware of the note wells, notably of the IPR policies. If you know of any IP pertaining to any of the topics being discussed, be it yours or somebody else's, you need to either mention it or not talk about the topic. And also I want to mention the harassment topic. So with BCP 25, we expect this meeting to be a professional meeting where everybody is treated with respect. And so if you feel anything is going on that is not appropriate, you have contact the ombuds team, which you can reach confidentially. And we really want this meeting, this workplace to be professional.
Thank you, Dominic. So, who could volunteer to help us with the notes? There are some volunteers. I see 5 people online. Do we have volunteers?
I see Pascal trying to talk.
Yes.
Is that to say yes?
Yes, it's to say yes. For some reason, it takes time for my mic to work, but now it works. Okay, I will contribute.
Good. Thank you, Pascal.
Great. Thank you.
Anybody else? Maybe a second one, especially when Pascal is talking.
I'll take notes when he's talking.
Great, thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much. Great. Okay, about the agenda, we're going to have first the working group status by Dominic and myself. Then Pascal will provide us the updates in DAO projection. Then Michael will discuss the open issues of enrollment priority. And then Pascal will provide that update in the 6 law work about multicast registration that affect Drupal. And then 5 minutes for open floor. Do you have some comments on the agenda? Objections? Okay, thank you. We proceed. So this is our draft status. So we got thank you, Alvaro, for the update in the NSA extension. So now the authors need to replay and address the open issues. Then for audio variable, it's this document has open issues, and we're going to discuss next on this. DAO projections are going to be presented today, and it's kind of all the issues, open issues are addressed. Now it's kind of ready for last call. And then the enrollment priority is going to be presented today, and mainly we want to discuss the open issues. MOPEX capabilities need it's a work in progress. Need to put attention on that, and the role storing acknowledge. Probably we will need drive a working group adoption for it. And we just got the new work adopted, Conrad work about the fast border router crash detection. Okay, so for milestones, well, we propose changes. I don't know if Dominique, you want to take lead on this?
Okay. Well, the milestones haven't been updated in a while, and so they're lagging by maybe a year or two. So it's about time to refresh those. So here are the milestones that were defined so far, and we're proposing new dates. So we've put years, but not months. So can we have an estimate for those, and so that we can refresh the milestones? So let's go through them. DAO projection. I think this can be submitted to ISG within this year. Pascal?
April, May?
Yep.
Yeah.
Any idea, Pascal, or maybe Alvaro, based on your own queue? When do you think this would be reasonable?
Hi, Alvaro Rotana, Rolling AD. Don't progress the work based on what the working group can do. My queue, yes, is very deep right now, and I'm running behind. But don't look at that. Just progress the work as the working group needs to progress it. And I'm working on finding a way to drain the queue a little bit faster. There were some documents, especially last year, that were bigger documents, not from this working group, but that I had to process, and they caused some blocking there. So process as you normally would, and I'll try and take care of this faster.
Okay, thank you.
If you were asking for the DAO projection,
Yes.
My take is we had more than one very deep review recently, and you will see in my updates. But yeah, I think we have reached the quality of Workgroup Pascal. So I would be happy when you start it. And my status was Remus Harris was supposed to give one last review before Workgroup Festival, but since we got one from Lee, one from Torlas, I think Remus Harris' review can be one of those for last call, as opposed to before last call.
So May is fine. May.
It might be a bit earlier.
Yeah, definitely, even earlier. I mean, if you start the Workgroup last call now, I mean, as soon as the current last calls are completed, you may start this one, and then
Well,
it's a matter of a month or two max.
Again, this is submission to ASG, so I guess this is after AD review. Is that correct?
No. After working group last call, I think when
we press the
submit
button. Okay.
So
Okay, let's shoot for May.
Mhm.
It's a projection, as the name says. Our projection.
And government priority is there are some open issues, maybe June or September. What do you think, Michael?
I'm just looking and I'm thinking we should fix the title. Maybe the title is wrong, but yeah, no, I actually think we really could push the button before at around the next IETF. I think so. I mean it got to maturity point and then we said oops. So I think we just need to resolve the discussion as to what we need to do, and we'll do that probably maybe today even. It's already had a few reviews, so I think so. I think certainly by the end of the summer, but I think even earlier, maybe the beginning of the summer.
Mm. August is fine, or September?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, September. And then, well, MOPEX and capability that we have to there do 2 milestones because there are 2 documents. So maybe we aim for November. Mm.
I think that's maybe reasonable, but that's good. It's going to take us, I think we're going to need some interim meetings to get to that, because I think there's still a lot of open questions that there, and it yeah, it would be great to have some implementations to do something like this, Martine.
Okay. Yes. So probably we will have an interim meeting in 2 months for that.
Will you implement MOPEX and CAPEX? No, okay.
Thank you for the comment. And then the, well, contract work just started, so we will push for next year. Then these modifications, Dominic, or
Yes. Yeah, I wrote 2023, so I stand by it.
okay. And then yes. Okay, for Young model from MPL, do you want to work on this topic? I mean, this
Is
is
there anybody still working on that?
okay. Yes. And then
So the question is, do we want to drop that milestone? Or is anybody willing to work on it, to resurrect it?
This is the Yang model.
yes.
For Meeple.
Something we already adopted.
No, it was it's expired a long time ago. It was written by Peter.
Right, but it was adopted by the working group, and it's part of the milestone. So what do we do?
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to finish it.
Okay, we can confirm in the mailing list. Yes. Okay. Some of the comments that we got for AudioB Ripple, that's they need as well the Jan model. For that was a request from the area director, but it's other topic, but it's related with Jan. So maybe at some point we need to consider this for the management part.
Right. Alvaro, can we remove milestones? What's the process for that? Do we need to get approval?
Yeah, hi, Alvaro Retana, Routing AD. Yes, so the part that requires process is the charter, right? We need to change the charter. To change the milestones, you change them, you add, delete, whatever. I'm going to get an email to approve, but in general, this is a big part of this is your decision. Now, as said, the ASG is paying special attention to manageability. And the normal question comes up with every draft. So where's the Yang model for this? How are we going to manage this network? One thing that we probably or you need to discuss in the working group is how do these networks get managed? Is Yang the appropriate way to do it? Are there other tools? I don't know, because if we need work to be done, we need to work to be done, because otherwise the solutions wouldn't be complete. Ideally, we would find people in the working group that are interested. So maybe that's the type of conversation that we need to have, because not all, say, IoT-related deployments are going to have the same type of manageability that other networks or other types of networks are going to have. So if Yang makes sense, sure, at some point we need to do it. If it doesn't make sense, then maybe not. So we can then negotiate that when we recharter at some point.
So we don't have a work item right now as a Yang model for Ripple. Okay, this is a Yang model for Meeple,
Correct.
right? And I would say that there's close to zero deployment of MIPL today. Some of the lighting and building people were very enthusiastic about it, and I don't know if they're still enthusiastic about it. Maybe that may be one of the questions. We don't, why I'm saying I don't think we'll complete it, because I don't think the people that even have a MIPL are participating anymore. And I don't think I can write a management protocol for a protocol I haven't implemented, right? So,
I think, yeah, actually the charter mentioned the Ripple and MIPL management data model for those. It mentioned in the work, it is in the charter. But yeah, probably there is people that have some other priorities. Pascal, do you want to say something? Pascal, you're in the queue.
We can't hear you.
Hello?
Yes. Now
No.
we.
Yes, my mic, when I disconnect, it takes an hour to reconnect. I don't know why. Anyway, MIPL is effectively used in Wyson. So not that I like it that much, but now Wyson is not using Yang to manage. So yes, until we find, I guess, somebody who's interested in working on a network that uses Yang for Ripple, how can we expect a good model? So we can keep it in the charter, but there's no work item, right?
I have trouble hearing you, so either can you restate slowly or go to the notes and fix what I just typed? I heard you saying Wyson used MIPL, but now, and I lost the rest of it.
Let me switch device because can you hear me better with this mic? I just switched my.
Yeah, this is better.
Okay, so I was saying MIPL is being used by Wyson, but Wyson is not using Yang. And until we have an actual deployment that uses Ripple and MIPL and decides to work with Yang, I don't see that we will get resources to develop the Yang model.
What?
Keeping the charter is okay, but the work item is stalled. It will be stalled for a while.
What the Wyson is using for management, MPL?
Well, they have their own co-op-based management.
Okay. Thank you.
It's documented within the Wyson standard, but it's not IETF. It uses co-op.
Okay, we will take to confirmation in the mailing list of the removal of this work. Thank you.
Like I say, we don't necessarily have to remove it from the charter, because maybe one day somebody will use Yang for managing a Ripple network. So let's have the charter item, but we are not working on it. It's a fact.
Okay, thank you. About the next topic, source road multicast for Ripple. Do we have some comments on it, Pascal or Karsten?
Yes, I have two comments. The first one is Benjamin, is stepping out and he's doing all his reviews. And if you watch his review, he just abstained. But if you look inside the review, you will see why he abstained. And he's basically telling us that the work group has not done the full work. So the quality of the document was not good enough when it reached ISG. That's what Ben is telling us. I'm paraphrasing, but please look at his words. And I was asked to do a review on version 13. I did. I published it. I used gentle words, but...
No, sorry, we're not talking about the outdated Ripple. It's source, the...
Oh, I'm sorry, source Nauticus. Oh, I'm sorry, I chose source Ripple.
It's in slide 9. Sorry.
Oh, no progress on that. We just discussed it with Carsten this morning because of the other draft, the one on the non-storing mode multicast, which I will be discussing. So he said, did somebody work on how that interact with CCast? But that's the only news in years. And so I don't know that anybody's working on CCast.
So is there any intention to progress it, or does it mean it's...
The only thing I know is probably I'll look at it again with Carsten to see how it integrates with the multicast registration work and the Mach 5. But I have no idea that there will be an intersection. So I don't know anybody's working on it for years.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. And then one charter working group or close next year as well. Okay. Then okay, we are going to be fast here. There are open issues to be discussed today about enrollment priority. Then we have additional open items for Ripple observations and mopeds. And finally, well, as Pascal was stating, we have a new version of Audible Ripple, but still is with the open issues. There are tickets created for the reviews that we got and for the discuss and abstain of Ben comments. But yes, now this document have changed the mode of operation to 4. I don't think there is some authors online. I don't think so.
Don't.
But no. Okay, but this work is some of the authors want to finish this work. But we would like to know if there is interest in the working group to work in this topic. There is one implementation from 2016, but it was not updated with the last modifications. So basically, we would like to know what do you think if you want to work on this topic? Yes, Pascal?
Well, I have spent quite some time on this. I did just 3 reviews already. So yes, we did insist. The work has been very, very slow. And at the moment, it's very unclear that what is specified works. I mean, from my command and from Ben's command, it's very, very unclear that it works at all as described. So we cannot push the button for publication request at this time, not at all. And whether there are enough hands to work on it, I could do one more review in the future, no worries. But I will not contribute. And so we need active contributor who really implement and look at my commands. It's not even clear it works.
Okay, thank you very much, Pascal. So yes, indeed, this document need to be addressed, all the open issues before further publishing process. What do you think, Alvaro?
It's not just saying yes or no on a question, right? It's really describe the mechanism because it's empty and it's this high-level description doesn't seem to work. So it goes deeper than just saying yes or no to a question.
Yes.
Well, Alvaro Tanarani. So this document already went through working group last call and IETF last call and IETG evaluation, and I read it and everything else. And yes, there are a number of topics that Ben brought up. He ended up abstaining. Abstain usually means there's so much work that needs to be done, but I'm not. I don't have time. I'm not willing to engage on that. Ben, of course, is stepping down today as security AD, so he doesn't have any more cycles to work on this. And Pascal's recent review really concerned me because, again, this document left the working group a year ago or so. We are at a point where I could actually approve the document. There's enough positions to move it forward, but there are enough holes and things that need to be fixed that's definitely not the right thing. The right thing to me seems to be to return the document to the working group, which is where I think the question from Inez comes of is there interest in the working group to work on this topic? Because if there isn't, then of course we're almost sentencing the document to death, right? Because we're returning it. If the working group is not going to work on it, then it's probably not going to go anywhere. I hate to see work that people have done, sort of go to waste. But if that is the state of where we are with the document and with the interest from the working group, then that's what sometimes happens, right? If there's no interest, there's no interest. So what I think I need to do is return the document to the working group. And if or as you find time and interest to work on it, then you can, right? And if it ever comes back to me and the AESG, then we'll do the processing at that point. But yeah, there's enough issues outstanding and open right now, and enough concerns that I can't push the document forward.
Thank you very much, Alvaro. Yeah, we agree with you. So having the document to the working group back so we can address all the issues is the right way to proceed. So thank you very much. Okay. Okay, I pass the deck to Pascal. Projection. Pascal.
Hello.
I pass the control to you from the slides. Okay.
If you could tell me, okay. Okay, so this is about the DAO projection. Just for those who are new to the topic, the main Ripple standard, there are 6550, I'm sorry, is a classical quote-unquote distance vector with protocol with some specific adaptation for IoT. In particular, it's anisotropic, meaning that it has a sense of direction in its operation. But it's a distance vector family. Now, there are extreme use cases where it's probably not what you want. And at one extreme, we can see Ripple AODV play. That's the pure money, very reactive, changing environment where you really want to establish only the routes that you care to use. So that's a very extreme use case. The other extreme use case is when you want a much better, tighter control, like the type of traffic engineering situation. And this is where the DAO projection plays. So you can see it as a SDN variation of Ripple, whereas AODV would be a reactive protocol adaptation of Ripple. All of them play with the same messaging, the same basic structures, but they operate reactively for AODV and using SDN type controller-based routing for DAO projection. So that's basically how I would position it. Now, I built this slide for the sake of positioning the different things that we manipulate with this document and how it builds on what Ripple did in the past. So first thing, there are two kinds of routes that DAO projection can install inside the network. The first type is what I would call a segment, and it's a serial link, it's serial set of hops. And that's what happens with a project DAO, which is sent by the root to forwarding node G, which is one of those black nodes on the top. And the PDAO will follow the path on the reverse direction of the packet, which is true for any DAO. And the PDAO contains that path, so it will basically say A to F to G. It is sent to G. It goes all the way back this path, and A, which is the ingress, will send the PDAO back to the root. And with this, we have built a serial segment. That's what we call a segment.
But
Now,
one question, sorry. Segment 1 should have the ingress included or not necessarily?
segments has an ingress and an egress. I could have written that A is the ingress of that particular segment.
Oh, okay.
But it's our naming, right? I mean, because a segment by itself, if it has a track ID for itself, it's already a track, but it's just a serial path. Normally, it's more of a component of a larger structure, and that larger structure is what we call a track. And we build a track by putting together a number of track legs. And in this drawing, I have 3 track legs. One that goes from egress, they all go from egress to egress, right? Ingress to egress, it's a path that you establish with a non-storing PDAO. And it provides a loose source route path between ingress and egress. And you can see the first leg is from I to A to F, F to G, G to E, and through that you can reach the target's TIs. So that's the upper leg. Then you have a middle leg, which goes from I to A to B, B to E, and then you can reach the targets again. What's interesting in this second leg is the path between A and B is actually another track. So it is itself a track for which A is ingress and B is egress. Okay, so A has to re-encapsulate, if you like. See it as a tunnel. But it's a more complex tunnel because, for instance, the track that you see between I and E has 3 legs in it. And the last leg is I to B to E. Oh, by the way, I say I to B to E. I should have said I to A to E before, but it was just to differentiate that I was going via the top. So basically, when you establish a non-storing loose path, you just provide what we call the relay dispatcher, which are the nodes which appear in the source route. So the source route says, for instance, to go I to A to E, there is a PDAO, one of those gray PDAO on the left, which is sent by the root to ingress I, and the main route, the root of the main TODAG. And it says source route path is I to A to E. And A will have a segment to go to E that will allow it to forward towards E. But the source route path will just say A to E. And that will in fact imply that you go through the segment, which is FGE. Okay, so a track leg is a loose source route serial path. Between the loose hops, you get segments. And the track is the aggregation of multiple of those legs. Each leg goes from ingress to egress. So this is what I wanted to illustrate in this drawing. So you see the targets that you can reach are those green TIs on the right, so the set of T1, T2, Tn. The legs, there are 3 of them, IAE, which is advertised as one non-storing mode DAO with the target's TI. Second leg is L2, which goes from I, B, E, and that's the lower leg. Again, it's a source route path going to TI. And the last leg is the one that goes across IABE, and that one actually re-encapsulates in another track between A and B.
Thank you. And sorry. Thank you. So from subtracts, we can have segments and legs as well, right?
Well, we can decide our wording, but for now, I have written it such a way that a subtrack is like a track. It goes from the ingress to the egress. So it's only composition of legs. So the track between A and B is not a subtrack, because it's not, what we say in the language is we place the packet on one subtrack, and what it really means is you place it on one or more legs between I and E. So just to be able to use this language easily, Right now, the text uses subtrack as just any subset of the legs of the track. And that's because when you do row using this, you will not place the packet on all the legs in parallel because that would consume too much energy. You will select a subset of the legs and place the packet on that subset. So you will get redundancy, but you will not waste too much energy. So that's why the subtracks are any subsets, so any set which is a subset of the track. And the track itself is the set of legs. Okay, so the track is really the set L1, L2, L3, and the subtracks are any subset of that, but empty set, because you cannot route on the empty set. So it's just, I mean, the language that we used and the objects that we're constructing. So this is ripple, meaning that we are building a geodag between I and E. The geodag has root, which is I. It's actually reversible, giving you a geodag which root is E, by the way. And if the links are reversible, the geodag will be. If the links are not reversible because they are not really symmetrical, then you use only in one direction. And the track, you can see it globally from the external view as a tunnel between I and E. And effectively, if you follow RFC 9008, you'll find that the targets are external routes, external destinations for this geodag, just like ripple and nowhere leaves, if you like. And so the encapsulation when you reach ingress will be exactly what 9008 tells you. So the ingress has to encapsulate towards the egress, which is the 6LR serving those external routes, those ripple and nowhere leaves. And then the egress decapsulates and delivers to a target. So this is, looking from a distance, this is a classical ripple geodag where the targets are external destinations. And the ingress is the route. And the row problem is, if you consider the row working group, the row problem is to avoid completely flooding this graph, which would mean too much spectrum, too much energy. When you want to reach from I to E, if you flood completely this graph, yes, you have the highest possible reliability, but you also consume a lot of energy and bandwidth spectrum. And since energy and spectrum are scarce, the row problem will be to select a subset of L1, L2, L3 for each packet. I'm also summarizing some rules of how all this works. So the track is set up by installing legs and segments, and the legs go from the ingress to egress, and the segments basically fill the gap between the loose hops. So the segments are serial hops. The packet gets in a segment hop and gets out in the same fashion. There is no processing on it, but forwarding. Non-storing mode PDAO are used to signal the legs, so it's a source route path. Storing mode PDAO is used to signal a segment. It is a serial, there is no loose, it has to be completely up by up by up. The fact that we have the segments, so we have the storing mode, that enables the non-storing to be loose. Actually, it's because we complete the gaps with the storing that we can have non-storing loose. And in particular, we can leverage that in the main geodag to enable non-storing mode ripple to have loose source route. So you basically can install segments in the main geodag so that your packets will have a shorter source route header. And obviously the segments are also used inside the tracks. And then that allows you to, again, to specify your leg as a loose sequence of hops. There is this rule in the document, which we could discuss, but it seemed to be the most useful way of doing things. The track egress is implicitly a target when you do non-storing mode, meaning that basically, normally, the non-storing mode installs this quote-unquote leg, this tunnel between the ingress and the egress. Well, in your routing table, you will say that the egress is reachable by that. It makes kind of sense.
Pascal.
And obviously, all the
Pascal,
targets are
2
also
minutes
reachable.
left, please.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, status of the draft. And the other rules, you can read them. So we've published 24. 21 was a huge review by Taurus. I can never thank him enough, but we discussed at the IETF 112. Huge restructuration because Taurus really came from outside of the the group. And so he asked for more restructuration to help the first-time reader, etc., etc. So we did that, huge restructuration, and also good technical points. Then we had Michael's review, and then again it went kind of deep, terminology, clarification, also mapping to .NET, which is the relay nodes are the hops, the loose hops, and the forwarding nodes, that's .NET terminology, are the hops in the segments, one in, one out. Then we had 23 with Lee's review. And like I said, we had those 3 very deep reviews, very happy with them. And Lee, some of his questions were easy to answer. So kind of did it with version 23, but then there were 4 issues, if you remember, that we discussed at an interim, which were harder. So we discussed the 4 issues on the list, and I published basically the result as 24. So my view is that 24 fixes all the GitHub issues. One of them was how many targets you can have in a DAO. And Lee wanted more than 1, but how can the controller reach more than 1? Maybe it can, maybe it cannot. Maybe the path that would reach them all is not as good. And there are policies in play, and we did not want to enter that game. So what I said is okay to have multiple targets, but we guarantee only to reach the first one in order. And then the controller will do its best to reach also the others, but it really depends on what it can do. And then there were more discussion about the bidirectional flag in the SIO. Is a link between 2 siblings directional or not, which was introduced for Lee's review on 23, and the text was improved on 24. Since then, I have done some rephrasing on legs and subtracts, which is basically what we just discussed. I've yet to publish it. I could publish it now. So we can review that, those changes. They are minor, but it's just to clarify the terminology so we can really speak about the objects. And we were waiting for Remusari's review, which did not come. I mean, Remus has a lot of work, but I don't think it blocks Work Core because we had all those 3 reviews by Michael, Torres, and so that was key. Since when Work Core started, I mean, I would hope people to look in depth of if we want new status flows to be more specific on stuff. In our flows that they have in mind that we missed, in particular error flows. There is discussion on all this, but if people think we are missing, that would be good to know. And that's it for me.
Thank you.
Comment, questions? Okay, thank you very much, Pascal. We go to Michael.
All right, so let's see.
Now you have control.
Do I?
Yeah.
I
I pass you.
I'm just deciding if I'm going to stand up or do I have control? Is it no.
I just passed you again
Yes.
the control.
So then, choose a slide deck.
Yeah.
Okay. Just the first time with the phone, you see. So there you go. Okay, so this document has been. Did we even get as far as working group last call and then we stopped again? I can't remember, but back and forth. But that's the story so far. You see that worked. There we go. We got quite far. We merged in another document with a different metric last year. And we had a lot of discussions about this. And then Conrad observed that this new extension interacts poorly with the trickle timer. And so then we had a lot of conversation back and forth, and we settled on the proposal that the value would not change throughout the DODAG. And so the root would be able to set the value, the preference for that DODAG, and it would there's a word for spread throughout the DODAG that I forget. It would propagate through the DODAG, and that would be it. If the root wants to change it, it would need to, increment the DTSM or something like that to reset the trickle timer. And so we kind of reluctant. I was reluctant with that change, but I'm like, okay, I guess that's the right answer. It's a compromise. And Raul then said, well, actually, that just doesn't satisfy his need for it all. I think that we can solve it. I think that we agreed we could solve this problem by adding another lollipop counter to this extension. And that is essentially what I think that we're going to be doing. It just hasn't been done yet. So that was the kind of things that we had discussion about. I think that the new counter solves the problem. I'm going to put that into the next revision of the document. I don't feel that confident about the whole thing until I've actually written some code about it, which is for me won't be very soon. So I would really appreciate some more deep review, particularly if you have running code. I don't think that we'll finish this needs some effort, and I think we've talked with the milestones sometime at the end of the year. This will be ready, and I said summer. I think that's still feasible. That's really it. Discussion. If you have questions about what is going on, I have some other slides that we can talk to, but we only have 15 minutes left, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. If not, any other questions from the group?
We have Pascal in the queue. Go ahead, Pascal.
Pardon?
Yes, so
Pascal is in the queue.
Oh, go ahead, please.
yeah, I was one of the proponents of fixing the minimum priority at the root, because I hope I demonstrated on the mailing list through a number of arguments that it just could not work the way it was specified, because you, for one example, you would get different values from different parents and stuff like that. And also there was no policy to say how you would increment it, so the nodes could increment in any fashion, and that was really weird. I think the lollipop is much needed. We want it. The reason why it's much needed is because you might receive values which are older from some parents than others, and you want to know which is the latest one. It doesn't really fix the problem that it does not balance the DAG. But another argument was whatever was proposed there did not fix it either. And balancing the graph is a very difficult problem, and it won't be fixed by just a value that gets incremented down the geodag like this. If you look at it, it's a global problem, and it has to be. Well, I looked at it deeply. The only way I found to fix it is to look at it from the outside, from a controller perspective. It's a very hard problem to balance something in a distributed fashion, basically. Take it as that.
So there's the thing that I care about, which is a lower property or than balancing the graph, which is that nodes don't try to enroll in parts of the graph which have no capacity to support them. So I think that it does solve that problem, right?
No, what's so well at the end the draft does, but not changing the priority down the DIO. What prevents the node to join is the priority we put in the beacon, right? So the question is, how do you map the priority into the beacon? Now, so it could be done. We could work on how basically someone could tell that, and maybe we need another value to say something like that. Like the parent would say, below me, I don't want anybody or something. But this will take new work, because, for instance, do you want nobody because of amount of traffic? Do you want, and in which case the solution could be slow down the traffic? Or do you want nobody because you don't have storing mode resources? Well, most of us are not doing storing mode. Or do you want to do it because you don't have enough non-storing mode resources? Well, non-storing mode resources are really your children, not down the geodag. So you don't need for that to control what goes beyond you in the geodag. You just need to control your own neighbor cache. And for that, your beacon is enough.
Your beacon, you can manipulate your own beacon to protect your own neighbor cache. I agree with you. That's true. Yeah.
And for the children of your subdag, it's not your concern, because that does not affect your resources. It just affects the throughput that you get through. And now the question of the throughput that you get through is yet another balancing, which is not necessarily related to the children. right? Some children can speak more than others, etc. So it's a lot more complex than what the draft seemed to intend. And so let's keep the draft simple at what is doing well, which is non-storing. If you have a network cache problem, fix your beacon.
Okay.
And if you have a throughput problem, like I said, it's probably a more global problem than this. And for now, it's flow control.
So Pascal, you prefer the document as it is right now, where we've changed it so that you don't change the value from the root.
Yes,
don't need a new do we still need a new lollipop counter?
I think we do. My memory of
Okay.
that is
All right.
Is what Conrad said. Is probably that you may get different information from different
From different
DIOs.
parents.
But
Yeah.
you want to make sure which one is the freshest.
All right. So is our 4 bits enough?
I hope so, right?
Yeah. So
But if we use the traditional lollipop that we have in section 7 of 6550,
yeah.
then we need 8 bits, right? But do we want that, or do we just want a rotation of, in which case the rotation inside is 4 bits?
Well, so I think the question is, are we going to steal some bits from some other part of the extension, or are we going to add another byte? That's really the 2 choices, right?
Well, if you want to have a very simple specification, you should have 1 byte, because then you can just say what we say everywhere else. Just look at section 7.
All right. Well, that's what I'll propose, and that's what I'll propose in 05 then. And with that, I think I'm done. Are you any other comments from other people? Okay. So I wonder how I turn it off. I don't know. I guess I'll let Inez do that.
I did.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Michael. So basically, we will need a lollipop and then check section 7 for knowing how to do that. Some additional comments, questions? Okay. Have some implemented this? Okay. Some are willing to implement comments on this work? Okay, anyway, I think there are people that was in the mailing list that is not today participating. So I think we will receive more comments on this one, mainly because as well affects usage work. Okay, thank you. Pascal, you should be next.
Yes, so I guess it is probably time to start working on this document in this group. So just to give you some context about what this is, and some of you have heard about it many times. So there's a series of RFCs which represent the adaptation of IPv6 neighbor discovery, initially for the context of IoT, and now it has grown way beyond. It's used in Rift, it's used in Ripple, it's proposed in EVPN. So basically, what this series of RFC do is enable to register a node between an address between a host and a router, and ask the router to redistribute that address in the routing protocol of the day. That can be EVPN, that can be Ripple, that can be whatever. The cool thing is that the signaling is completely abstract to the routing that takes place. So you can have any routing protocol above. It's still a simple registration with the same format exactly by the host. Well, I say exactly that there is an opaque field where you can still pass some hints to the specific routing protocol if you know to. But otherwise, it's basically a routing agnostic registration that we have. So this registration was initially for only addresses. But we are now, with this draft, we are proposing to extend it to anycast and multicast address. So for multicast, we already had a Ripple counterpart with MOP3. Yes, and that was pretty much a mix of storing mode and multicast. But we don't have anything for non-storing mode, which appears to be the most important case for the actual REPL deployments. So part of what this thing does is extend 8505, as I said, for unicast and multicast, which the 6-law working group has been looking at. And so far, I mean, we had discussions and no objections, so I think we're pretty good there. And then we did the REPL counterpart. In the one hand is to extend the REPL and aware leaf draft, RFC now, to inject anycast and multicast on top of unicast, but also extend REPL itself, because if the DODAG is operating in non-storing mode, we could effectively leverage that as well for multicast using basically a distribution set of tunnels using 8008, but across a collection of tunnels as opposed to just one. So basically distributing across tunnel at the root, which is what we are proposing with this MOP5. So as you see out of those 3 points here, the last two are really a concern for RAW as opposed to 6-law. 6-law is pretty much done with 8505. We need to look at the extension to 9010 and to 6550. So what happened to this draft? During IETF 112, we worked on cleaning the description of the anycast support and improving the backward compatibility pretty much with 9010. And also in the 6-law context, the EDAR-EDAC exchange had to carry the new flags that we're introducing to say anycast or multicast. Since then, we bumped the version from 2 to 4. So we looked at some concerns, some feedback we got from YSAN actually. So YSAN 1.1 plans to use this work and they're pressing us to deliver it. One issue they had was with the whole node multicast link scope group, FFO2.com1, and they did not want the nodes to have to register to it because in normal IPv6 this is implicit. There was no text saying yes or no, so we clarified that yes, you do not need to register to this. This is implicit. Then we improved the description of how address protection works in that case for multicast and anycast, because it's not obvious. And we also aligned the description with the work which is proposed at BESS to redistribute 8505 and now this new work, multicast and anycast as well, into BGP, into EVPN. So the work for this group is manifold, but mostly we have to look at MOP5. We managed the collision with REPL AODV, right, which is now 4, so we have 5. But now we need to consider whether it's okay to do the ingress replication as proposed. And basically the draft also describes how you select one of the possible destinations for any cast. And with this, I'm out of my time, so I won't describe much, unless you tell me I have more time. Yeah. So I'll skip on this slide, which gives you the most interesting aspect of the document, and we'll take questions. Basically, my ask is for you, Alvaro, and Eric Klein, actually. If you could work together on how we do this document, because it makes sense for me to keep it as one, because you specify both sides and now you have a complete story.
Sure, Alvaro Tanaroni. So I'm going to delegate that to our chairs to go talk to the 6-law chairs and then figure that out, right? Whether we have two documents that depend on each other, or one points to the other, or whatever that is, or we work on one. If we work on one, we need to figure out who's going to last call it, who owns the decision, etc. But I think this is a working group thing. So Ines and Dominique, if you can please talk to the 6-law chairs, that would be great. I will give Eric Klein a heads up, anyways, so that we're all aware of what's going on there. You have talked about all this in 6-law, right?
Yes, and Eric was there. It was middle of the night for him, but he was there.
Good.
And it's not the first time, right? So you're all aware. Now, as the ASG, even if you delegate, do you have a preference? Like, do you want to see two documents coming asynchronously? Do you think that there is a risk that one document misses an aspect and then the other has to correct
No,
it?
I don't have a preference. No, again, this depends on what is going to go into each of the two documents and how much, related they have to be, and whether they are two at the same time or two at different times. It depends on, the implementation and other statuses. So no, I don't have a preference on how you do it.
Alvaro, also in 6-low, if it was two documents, it wasn't clear, I think, to 6-low that other document in 6-low actually fit their charter. So that was one of the arguments for, I think, for having it one document somewhere not in 6-low, was that they weren't sure it even fit in 6-low.
Right. So again, something that I think the chairs in that case about their charter with Eric need to figure out if it's in charter or not. We have all kinds of documents that span multiple working groups all the time. We do this in BEST and BGP and now even PIM and other working groups where that happens all the time, and we just agree on how the document is going to be processed. Where it's, usually last call in one place, copy to the other one where we need to get consensus from both. But there's a set of chairs that are going to own this. So yeah, the charter issue is an issue. I'll talk to Eric about that. But at the same time, I'll keep you, Ines, and Dominique in the loop on that. And please talk to the 6-low chairs about it.
Sure.
My
Will do.
hint is that the changes to 6-low are minor. We are basically adding some flags to say anycast or multicast. The big work is on Ripple side. Just like 99010. So my hint is probably role is a better place, but that's just me. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. We will discuss with the 6-low chairs. We are running out of a minute, so we are going to send the conclusions in the mailing list and trigger the corresponding threads. Dominique, some other comments?
Yep. We'll definitely work with the 6-low chairs and sort that out. No worries.
There is a comment in the chat. Adnan Rashid. There is are node post protocols dependent to each other? I mean, Ripple and 6-low PAN. Karsten replace not. Okay, some additional comment questions. Michael, about your issue, red issue in your slide, but we can take it to the mailing list because we are out of time. Okay, Adnan, do you want to say loud some comments? Okay, I think we can conclude the meeting if there is no additional comment or questions. Okay, thank you very much all. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much,
Bye-bye.
Michael, your help. Thank you very much. Big thanks, Mike.
Feels like we should have like a big button on the Meet Echo for the room that says, we're really done now. Like it seems to figure out that we've left, but I guess, does that mean the chair's left?